After literally years of scouring the Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, looking for anvils that actually had a decent price tag on them, I finally found one. It's not perfect. It's not the anvil that I'm hoping to use for the rest of my life. I'm definitely going to upgrade from this at some point, but it is a huge improvement from the piece of crap that I was using before. So let's go look at that thing. So this is my old anvil. You've probably seen this one floating around on the internet. They sell for $160, $170, and it weighs 66 pounds. It's actually made out of cast steel, which is really surprising at that price point. But there are some big issues with it. First of all, it's a tiny anvil, and it has a huge face on it, which is just a very inefficient use of resources. You want to have as much metal as possible underneath your hammer. And it has feet on it. Like, they're spending extra money to make sure that this thing loses efficiency as much as possible. So also, with it being on this metal stand, the tubing, the wall thickness isn't as thick as it should be. I think it's only 1/8 of an inch. It means this thing just springs around everywhere when you're trying to forge. It takes a ton of work to get a very small amount of work done on it. So if I want to use forging as a tool that helps me make knives more efficiently and more effectively, I can't do it on that anvil. It's basically useless. So I found this one on Facebook, and the gentleman selling it was very nice, gave me a very good deal on it. There are some issues with this anvil, however it was priced accordingly, so I'm not as worried about those as I would be otherwise. To begin with, this anvil was first repaired really poorly, and then someone went back and did a pretty good job, but they weren't working with as good of a starting point as they should have been because the early repair work was not done properly. So you can see the seam of the undercut along that weld that they put on the corner. It is completely open, however, there's no crack extending down that length, as you can see here when it's ground flush. You can also see right here, part of that new weld has been chipped off with use. So I'm kind of expecting these corners to be rather brittle. So before I do anything on this anvil, I need to put a pretty significant rounded edge all the way around. The original anvil face has a lot of dings and dents in it. It could use a resurfacing, as well as the shoulder step and the top of the horn. So it looks like I have a lot of angle grinder use in my future. I also need to flatten off the stump that it's sitting on right now. It's really wobbly, and I'm going to do that with a grinding disc on my 7-inch angle grinder as well. It had a pretty significant amount of sagging right here at the sweet spot, and so to get this thing perfectly flat I was going to have to take off so much metal. I think that eventually I'll take it over to my buddy's shop. He has a mill there. Maybe we'll see if we can mill the top of this perfectly flat. But for now, that's about as good as it's going to get. It is good enough for doing work though, because we do have a nice clean flat section over here. And every anvil needs a spot for you to beat the piss out of. We have one of those right here. So let's see if I can get this thing mounted to that stump, and maybe I could bang on something. Now eventually I'll have this thing all set up nice and neat and everything's gonna look great. But right now I'm really just antsy to use the thing. So I'm gonna make some pins out of some 3/8 inch thick rebar, sharpen the tips, and I'm just gonna use those like nails, hammer them straight into the stump, and it'll hold that thing in place so I can give it some wax and see how she goes. So I meant for all of them to be folded over like that, to look nice and neat, and they have a lot of surface contact to help keep it in place. Unfortunately, I got this one over here that's all retarded looking, but I got 3 out of 4, so I'd say this isn't too bad. But anyway, it is time to light the forge and use this anvil for the first time. So first of all, the new anvil is so much better than my old one. It is awesome. I explained the way that I was mounting the anvil to the stump today as though it was an inadequate way to do it, but after I did it, it is totally solid. The stump and the anvil act as one piece, and that's really what you're looking for. It is quiet, the ring is deadened, probably about as much as I'm going to be able to get it. So I'm just going to leave it that way until I have a reason to change it. So that's cool. Also, it is so much better than my old anvil. It's so much easier to use. It moves the metal so much faster. I don't have to swing the hammer hard to dent it. When I'm using the 66-pound anvil, I have to put some stank on it if I want to see a noticeable difference in the shape of the metal at all. So anyway, I am super stoked with this 140-pound mouse hole anvil. I don't know if you're ever going to get an opportunity to get your hands on one of these, but if you do, definitely take a look at it because I'm really happy with the one that I bought. However, I did get a really fair deal on it, and I know that nowadays that doesn't come around very often. So definitely take that into consideration when you are searching for an anvil. But anyway, I have a pirate sword that I'm forging right now, and I'm probably going to spend the rest of the afternoon doing that. So that's all for today. Thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.